quantities using Navisworks quantification workbook. With Navisworks open, Home tab, Append, and append the following file: RST Advanced Sample Project.nwc. Once in Revit, just looking at the model, it just matches your Revit model. First of all, just visually making the colours a bit different. Under the Viewport tab, going across to the mode and changing to be shaded. We now want to open up the quantification workbook, an item to be able to use Navisworks for quantities. Under the View tab, across to Windows, we want to open up quantification workbook and also the item catalogue. Down the quantification workbook, we want to go to Project Setup. In this case here, these are pre-made catalogues that you can set up to your standards. For example, we'll be using none and ensuring metric has been used. Change units as required. First of all, we're going to create a new group up under the item catalogue. Selecting new group. This new group will be called piles. Selecting piles, we also want to create a new item, so this is like a subcategory. So this one here, we will call this 2 pile cap. We now need to create a series of selection sets, or to be able to create or select the elements to apply to 2 pile cap. Once selecting one of the pile caps, in this case here, if I go same name, as you can see, it's now selected all the same name for the 2 pile caps. Once selected, save selection. This selection here. To pile cap. So at any stage under the Sets tab, we can select this for quick selections. With these now selected, just inside the viewing window, right click, down to quantification, we can now take off to the 2 pile cap. As you can see now, there are 48 pile caps now added to the selection. So in the quantification workbook, it's listing each individual pile. It's picking up our model lengths, our widths, our thicknesses, all in preparation ready for quantities. Alternative method to updating a quantification workbook, for example, going back up to item catalogue, create a new item. This one will be the 4 pile cap. And at this point here, as we can see, a different colour. With the 4 pile cap, back in your viewing window, If selecting one of the 4-pile pole caps, picking and dragging over the top, as you can see, has automatically updated the workbook. Colour coding is very important, just to make it easier to see where you're at. Once you've started populating your workbook, at any stage, for example selecting piles, you can hide your takeoff, which hides the elements, and then slowly go around to every other element, or even show just to see which ones have been placed inside the workbook. Other methods for quantities, you can actually do measuring of elements. Under the Review tab, under Measure, selecting the measuring options, you're opening up the Measuring Tools dialog box. For example, we may select the measuring of the area. In this case here, we'll measure just an area of this wall. Which gives us 98 meters square. Just selecting this value and right click and copy for future use. Obviously, in addition, besides area, for this sample, we're just going to measure some lengths to use for later use. I select, say, two opposite corners and highlighting the 14.39 and copy. Down in the quantification workbook, right clicking, new virtual takeoff, and down under model length at any stage, right click and paste. So repeating this process again is just a manual way to create your quantities. Changing the item. Now once you have set up your workbook, at any stage you can actually export these results. Across to the right we have an export option. Exporting quantities to Excel. In this case here, we'll just use new quantity report. Open up the file after exporting. With tabs created and all data, you can start to see the results of what's coming out. This now gives you full flexibility to calculate any information as required. And that concludes quantities using Navisworks Quantification Workbook.